Good morning. I hope God's blessing you. I hope you're willing to serve Him, give Him honor and glory in all things. Going a different route with this one. I've been asked and I've been told many different times, Brother B, why are you so much different than what you used to be? Why are you so much different than most other people? Well, a lot of it has to do with my childhood. A lot of people don't understand me. A lot of people don't know how to take me. To a lot of people, I'm a fence. I'm a bother. But thanks be unto God, I'm different. I'm different than what I was, and I am different than most people. I walk a different path. I follow a different light. I live a different way than a lot of people do. And I definitely live a different way than I did when I was growing up. This one's it's going to be totally different than most of my sermons, most of my lives. I got one verse I want to read and then I'll try and get into my thought. When I was a child, I spake as a child. I understood as a child. I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. That's 1 Corinthians 13th chapter, the 11th verse. My childhood was not a very pleasant one. Anybody knows me very well knows that. I grew up rough, I grew up tough, I grew up mean. I grew up without, and I'm not saying this looking for pity, and I'm not saying this to brag about myself by no means. I'm asked quite often why that I am the way that I am. I am who I am, and that's all that I am. And I'm not Papa the Sailor Man. When I was little, before I even started school, my old man walked out on us four kids and my mama. And that's where it began. He was milking for a man called Frank Holloway down around the Bucksville and Chandler Chapel area. I was standing on the front porch playing. He about knocked me off the porch when he come running out the door. I heard the screen door when it hit. About the time the screen door slammed shut, he hit me, about knocked me plumb off the porch. Mama come running out behind him. Wayne Belcher, where you going? Frank, he said, Mr. Fisher said if I'd catch him, he'd give me a ride to town. I'm going to town and get a loaf of bread and a gallon of milk. I'll be back in a little while. We found him somewhere between a year and a half later, over in Franklin with another woman that had a slew full of kids. Him and Mama never got back together. Mama met a man named Randall Freeman out of Franklin. And that's where my traveling began before I ever started school. We loaded up in an old green push-button drive station wagon, and we had a little small pull-behind U-Haul trailer, and we took off. We'd stop on the side of the road and build a little fire and heat up a big can of ravioli or spaghetti and meatballs or something, and the 6 of us would make a meal off that one can. Traveled from town to town, state to state. Randall would go from town to town. He'd stop long enough to work a week or two to get some money, and then we'd go to the next town. I've been just about every state in the United States, including going over into Canada, including going across the border and living on a chicken ranch. Got bused back into the United States to go to school, and then caught the bus and went back across the border. Been across the Hoover Dam, seen the Alamo, been to the Grand Canyon. Got to see Fort McHenry where the Star-Spangled Banner was wrote. We lived out of that green push-button station wagon for over a year or better. And I wound up in Baltimore, Maryland, where my mama's twin sister lived. Mom would keep me a little while, and she'd send me back to Daddy a little while. He'd keep me a little while, and he'd send me back to Mama a little while. Somewhere along about 1970, before I turned 9-year-old, I was back in Kentucky with my dad. Mama had come to get me again, and I'd been going to revival with some friends over at New Harmony Old-Fashioned Missionary Baptist Church. Pastor was Brother Merle Ellis at the time. Him and my Uncle Randall Belcher were holding a revival, and I was going. And the good Lord had been dealing with me all week. I was out in the field playing with some kids on that Friday morning. And they asked me, "Jimmy, you going to the altar tonight?" I said, "If the good Lord allow it, I'm going." I hadn't never been. But he'd been on me so heavy that I'd done made up my mind if I could make it to the church that night. When they called for the altar call, I was going to hit it. The trouble and the trials and the tribulations had gotten on me so bad I couldn't stand it. We went to church that night, and I was sitting there next to my mom, about middle ways. If you're facing the pulpit, it'd been on the left-hand side. And Uncle Randall was preaching hellfire and brimstone so hard and so hot that night that I could feel it burning my feet, and I could feel it burning my soul. The good Lord opened up my eyes and my ears that night to the point that I realized where I was going better than I ever had. Because he rolled the pits of hell back, and he let me see in my mind where I was going. And I saw the souls of them down there as they were running to and fro, screaming and hollering, clawing at each other, trying to find some comfort, trying to find some peace. I could smell the supper. I could feel the fire that night so bad. I had a burden on me. I had the weight of the world on me. So they finally called for the altar call for all to come up and pray that night. And I ran up there. I didn't just walk, I ran. And I bowed down on that old mourner's bench at the altar, and I began to have me a little talk with Jesus that night. I began to pray a sincere desire of the heart about my soul and where I was headed. And while I was praying, there was a little space in time. I can't tell you exactly what happened, because I left this world. But when I come back to myself, that same small, still voice that told me that I was lost is the same small, still voice that told me, get up, Jimmy. Tell the world what I've done for you. You're one of mine now. So I got up, stood up, and I looked up at my uncle. I said, Unc, the Lord just saved my soul. And he looked down at me, them old big blue Belcher eyes, and he said, boy, how do you know? Devil jumped on me right then and there. Right then and there. Look at there, boy. Your own uncle don't believe you. How do you know? Well, I didn't know then at the time what his question really was. I found out later as I grew that he wanted to know that I knew for sure. But old Satan jumped on me that night and told me, he said, look at there, your own uncle don't even believe you. You done told so many gollywhoppers, so many lies, that your own uncle don't even believe you. You ain't been saved, boy. You just think you have. Well, I knew better, because the pains and the burdens and the agony of hell were no longer on me. The weight that was on my shoulder and in clouding my mind, it wasn't there no more. I had peace. I had peace like I'd never felt before. So when church was over, I asked the old pastor, Brother Merle Ellis, I said, can you baptize me in the morning? And he looked down at me, nope, you're going to have to wait till Sunday like the rest of them. I knew something he didn't know. Mama had come to get me, take me back to Baltimore with her at the time. So I said, okay, knowing that I wasn't going to be there. I just said okay and dropped my head and went on. Went back to Baltimore with Mama. Got back in with the same old crowd, doing the same old stupid childish stuff. Like I read there, when I was a child, I spake as a child, I understood as a child, I thought as a child, I done as a child. Many years, and some still do, people told me, boy, you'll never amount to nothing. You so dumb you couldn't pour water out of a boot and somebody else tilting it over for you. Don't tell your kids that. Don't tell kids that. Because they begin to believe it after a while. And I did. I give up. I had teachers tell me, I don't care whether you learn or you don't learn. I still get paid. Wrong. Don't do that. Well, I went back and forth from Mama to Daddy, from Mama to Daddy. Stayed in trouble because I give up on myself and I quit trying to better myself because everybody told me I wouldn't amount to nothing. 1973, I was back in Kentucky with my daddy. He had given back to his calling to preach. My daddy was the type would preach a while, drink a while, preach a while, drink a while, depending on what woman he was living with, on how he acted. But I will give Daddy one credit. He was either 100% in or he was 100% out. He wasn't wishy-washy about it. At this time, we was living on Railroad Street over in Franklin beside Drake's Construction in a little duplex. Daddy was preaching. And I'd been going to church with him. You had to. And I'd get up and I'd go with him on Sundays to Gallatin, Tennessee, where he had a radio broadcast at the time. Every Sunday he went, I went with him, so he wouldn't have to go by himself. And I was sitting in an old fold-up chair against the wall, like usual, listening to him. And like usual, he was preaching hellfire and brimstone. Boy, my daddy could do it. Daddy had a photographic memory. He could read something and come back 20 years later and tell you exactly verse, word for word, and what verse, what chapter. He could go in, he could sit down, he could hear a preacher preach, and 20 years later he could come back and he could preach that same sermon word for word. And if you didn't know him, you wouldn't know it. I had that ability at one time, but it got to bothering me, and the good Lord took it away. Now, like my wife says, I do good to find my way to work and back home. Be careful what you ask for, you just might get it. But get back into it. I was sitting there in that old fold-up chair, and the good Lord spoke to my heart and my mind. You see what that man's doing? Jimmy, that's what I want you to do. I was in the 8th grade when God called me to preach. 8th grade. And on the way home from the radio station, the reason why I know I was truly called, because it was the same voice that told me when I was lost, and the very same voice that told me when I was saved by the grace of God. Told me, this is what I want you to do, what he's doing. I want you to preach my word. My first thought was to myself and to the Lord, not me. I can't do it. I can get up in front of a crowd and act like an idiot and a clown. I was good at that. But as far as speaking for people to understand and for them to pay attention to, I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I couldn't read. I quit in the 8th grade. I dropped out of school. That's the reason why I tell children, don't drop out. Stay in there, make something out of yourself. I quit in the 8th grade because I had to go to work. Because I couldn't take care of myself. Couldn't take care of myself, and I couldn't feed myself when I dropped out. I had a 2nd grade reading level. When good Lord called me to preach, just a little while before I dropped out, I couldn't read good. I couldn't tell you anything other than Jesus Christ came to save the lost, and in the beginning God created the world. And that's only because I could remember it. For many years I run from my calling to preach. I lived like the devil's very own son. I was in and out of trouble all the time. When I was 13, I got tired being shipped back and forth from mama to daddy, daddy to mama. I got tired of daddy coming home drunk, wanting to beat on us. I got tired of daddy working us in hay fields, milk barns, tobacco patches, helping people do construction, sending us to clean people's garages, barns, and houses, and yards, and fields, and stuff. And then him take our money and go blow it, gambling and drinking. He's one of the reasons why it took me so long to give in to my calling to preach, because I knew they wouldn't believe me. They wouldn't believe me and they wouldn't trust me. Because all my life, all I ever heard was, you're Wayne Belcher's son, you're his first son, and you just like him. They were wrong. I may look like him, but I wouldn't just like him. To try and speed this up some, like I said, when I was a child, I acted like a child. But when I became a man, I put away my childish things. I traveled many states. I've done many different jobs. I lived many different places. I would make deals with people. If you let me live in your barn or your attic or your basement, depending on what state I was living in, your tobacco shed, chicken coop, or whatever, so I could stay out of the weather. If you'd wash my clothes, give me at least one meal a day, I'll work for you. So I worked on farms. I done painting for people. I hung sheetrock for people. I worked on a tow truck for a man. I'd go with him and I'd hook and unhook the cars because he got burned up kind of badly in Vietnam and he couldn't lay down on his back. So I'd crawl underneath there for him. I'd hook the cars up. He had an old tow truck. It's back in the 70s. He'd give me $5 a car to crawl under there and hook it up for him. Well, back then, that $5 was big money. And all the time I was running from my calling to preach. I got hooked on alcohol at a very, very young age. Got hooked on drugs at a very, very young age. I never run with kids my age. I ran with the older boys. And I stayed in trouble because of it. All the time, I was running from my calling to preach. 1975, I was working a carnival up in Ohio. He's supposed to been 18, but my Uncle Toby, my mama's younger brother, lied and got me on. There was a young girl kept coming around flirting with the guys. She finally made it around to my ride. I'd already seen what happened to some of the other guys. So every time she'd take a step forward, I'd take 2 to 3 steps back away from her, trying to stay away from her. All of a sudden, a woman come out of the crowd, grabbed her by her head, her hair, and her ears, and she started shoving that kid's face into her kneecap, yelling, "I brought you in this world, I'll take you out. You ain't ruining your life like this. You ain't standing around here messing with this trash." I backed up a little more. Next thing I knew, I had a .357 stuck in my ear. And a woman telling me, "I'm fixing to blow your brain all over this midway." And all I could do was look at her and say, "Ma'am, if you do, you're going to do 2 bad things. One, you're going to kill a kid that ain't messing with your daughter, because if you'd been watching, you'd have seen every time she took a step forward, I took 2 to 3 back, because I already seen the trouble that comes with her. You're going to kill an innocent kid that ain't even old enough to be on this job." Well, my Uncle Toby happened to be 2 rides over, and he run over and slapped the gun out of her hand. And he told me, "Go home, boy. I'll be there in the morning. Go home." So I hitchhiked from Huber Heights that night to Franklin, Ohio. We was in Ohio, Franklin, Ohio. And I told my mama, I said, I'm going home. I'm done with this. I've told you all my life I do not like the big city. I belong in the woods. Better yet, I belong up on a mountain in a cave somewhere. I was running from my calling to preach. So I made my way home to Kentucky. And thanks be unto God, I made him a promise that night. If you allow me to get back to Kentucky, I'll never leave it again. And I haven't. Oh, I've traveled to Tennessee, Indiana, Ohio, and a few other places to preach. But I've never left it as far as being my place to live. For many years, I made deals with people. Like I said, if you'll let me stay, I'll work for you for free. But if you don't have work for me to do, I'll be somewhere trying to make a living. In 1981, I was working at a feed mill in Auburn. And I was trying my best to clean myself up. I was trying to get off the alcohol. I was trying to get off the drugs. I was trying to make a better life for myself because I didn't like the way I was no more. Even though I was still horseback riding, I was still trying to break horses and mules. There's nothing wrong with that, as long as you don't put it before the Lord. See, that's what I done wrong. I put my horses, my coon hunting, my rodeoing, my square dancing, my motorcycle riding before what I was supposed to do. I was still thinking as a child. I was still thinking with a child's mind. I was more worried about my fleshly desires than I was my heavenly desires. I was still thinking as a child. And I put some good things, there's nothing wrong with, in front of serving my Heavenly Father. That's what I done wrong. I made him my idols. He said, have no other God other than him, for there is no other God other than him. Many pray unto their wooden and stone idols, falsely gods, that can't save them. I knew better. But in 1981, I was coming home for lunch. And there was a little girl, a little bright-eyed girl, sitting on the front steps of the apartments that I lived in Auburn. The old motel, hotel, whatever you want to call it, apartment. And as I stepped up on that first step, the good Lord said, there's the girl you're going to marry. That's what the Lord told me. There's the girl you're going to marry. I said, no, I ain't. I ain't getting married. And besides that, I'm not even going with her. How can I marry somebody I'm not even going with? Well, he took care of that part too. Because it wasn't long, she kept coming back. She'd be sitting there waiting. She'd say hi. I'd say hi, and I'd go eat my bologna sandwich. Come back out, talk to her a little bit. Well, I wound up dating her. 3 years later, I wound up marrying her. We lost our first child, and I still believe that's because I was running from my calling to preach. Then we had our second child, which is, I'll say my first child. That was Sarah. And a little later, we were dating. In order for me to date her, I had to come down to her folks and stay there. They wouldn't let me take her nowhere because she was so young, which I understood. With my reputation, believe me, because all my life I didn't get to date like a lot of young boys did, because I'd go to see a girl and they'd tell me, get off their property. You're Wayne Belcher's son, and we know you. You're just like him. Get away. Don't come back, or we'll call the law. So when I started dating her, the two conditions were I had to be at her house where her mom could watch me or her dad could watch me, make sure I didn't do nothing wrong, and I had to go to church with them. I got no problem going to church with you. Got no problem at all. So that went on for a little while. Then I decided I'll slick her. I'll pull one on her. I'll take her to my church where my people go. I figured one time would do her. 'Cause we had some women folk that would shout the house roof off the church. They would scream and raise every hair on the back of your neck when the Holy Spirit got hold of them. I figured that'd scare her enough she wouldn't ever want to go back. So I took her. I watched her face. I watched how she reacted on the way back home to take her home. She told me, she said, that's where we're going from now on. And I'm thinking, oh boy, have I opened up a can of worms that I can't get out of. So we started going. Then we got married. Good Lord was still dealing with me. Coming home from the feed mill, I had a wreck. I had a 70 Mustang, 351 4-barrel. Full stock cam, headers and all. I was rolling on. Roads were slick. It got away from me. Hit a little patch of water and it got away from me. I hit the bank. It went airborne. High enough you could have drove a pickup truck with racks under it. Set me back down. I was headed back the direction I was coming from. I walked away from that one with just a scratch and a couple of dents in my old car. By rights, they should have killed me. Then I had a few other things happen. And then one night, while I was in the bed, God woke me up from a dead sleep. Now, anybody knows me, I don't sleep. Maybe a couple of hours, 3 at the most, if I'm lucky. Never have. Been that way all my life. But he woke me up out of this dead sleep and told me, boy, I'm done with you. You either preach my word like I told you, like I asked you, or I'm going to bring you home. I'll get my honor and glory out of you one way or another. My wife said I come straight up out of the bed, never touched the bed, and come straight up, stood up, and started yelling. I don't know what I got to do exactly, but I do know I got to preach. God done told me he ain't going to fool with me no more. So we got ready to go to church that Sunday morning. She told me, she said, don't you embarrass me. Well, I was sitting, I told her, I said, let's sit on the very back row. Because I figured, if he get on me very good, I'd just slip out the door. Wrong. Spirit got hold of me. She said I beat the wall the whole time the preacher was preaching. I was beating the wall with my fist. And she told me, she said, you really didn't know what you was doing till you stood plumb up and told them that you were called to preach. Well, when I told the church I was called to preach, the pastor, which happened to be my Uncle Randall at the time, said, all right, October the 13th, Sunday night, you can preach your first sermon. And I'm thinking, oh, what have I done? I don't like crowds. I don't like people. I don't like standing in front of people. Unless I'm acting like an idiot. Circus clown, rodeo clown, carnival clowns, class school clown, something like that. I was good at. But stand in front of somebody and be serious and discuss, no. But that Sunday night came. And I'm standing around trying to figure out what to preach on. The Lord give me the only thing I knew anything about, I reckon. Excuses. Excuses. That He don't accept excuses. Only good, solid reasons. On the way to church that night, my wife and told me, she said, you ever talk to the Lord? I said, I talk to Him quite often, especially since I opened my big mouth and told everybody that I was called to preach. I really talk to Him now. She said, well, I've been talking to Him. I said, you have? Yeah. She said, and He told me I'm not saved. How do you know the difference when you're saved and you're not saved? So I give her my experience of being burdened, troubled, scared to die, knowing that hell was going to be my everlasting place of punishment. And I'm thinking, oh Lord, I've done opened up another can of worms that I can't deal with just right now because I'm worried about what I'm going to preach on. Well, I got in there. Uncle turned the service over to me. And I went to Luke 14. Took about the scriptures about where the master bid his servant to go invite those to come in to the wedding to feast at his table, and they all began to make excuse. Lord wound me up tighter than a banjo on a Saturday night dance floor. I was bouncing around that pulpit more than a basketball in a Harlem Globetrotter. He wound me up tight. I preached what He laid on my heart. And then I went outside to get me some air because I couldn't breathe. I felt something poking me in my rib. And I could hear a voice tell him what God done for you. Tell Him. Kept poking. I finally turned around to see who was poking me because I'm very tender ribbed. You poke me in my ribs, you're hurting me. You hit me in my head and all you're going to do is hurt your hand. Daddy always said I'd made a good billy goat, hard head and stinky feet. So I turned around and I said, what's up? She said, the Lord just saved my soul. You talk about rejoicing. Not anything that I did, but that the good Lord allowed me to be part of it. My wife got saved tonight. I stood my first sermon. And there was 5 others on the altar that I didn't even know was on the altar. And I reckon from the testimonies, all 6 of them got saved. One of them was the deacon's son. I was blessed to be able to be part of such a good service and didn't even know it. God give me a woman that took me off drugs, took me off alcohol, helped me to put away my childish things. That's what I'm trying to get to. I'm going around the mulberry bush a long way about, but I'm going around it to get there. Because of her, this woman that he told me that was a little girl sitting on the front steps, He said, this is the woman you're going to marry. I didn't know at the time, but he told her, when I put my foot on that step, this is what she told me. She said, when you put your foot on that first step, God told me this is the man you're going to marry. And I told her, I said, that's okay, because when I put my foot on that first step, he said, this is the girl you're going to marry. Neither one of us knew it at the time. God has a way of putting the right people in your life. Now, my little person I'm married to, she's 4'7", but she acts 9 foot tall at times. That's what it takes to handle me. I've had people tell her his own parents couldn't handle him the way you do. His own parents couldn't control him like you do. And most of the time, or a few times I've heard her say, it's because I love him and I want him to do right. God called him to preach. He finally owned up to it, and I want him to do right. Excuse me just a minute. Excuse me. But to get on, I had to put my childish things away. As much as I loved to ride horses, and much as I loved, as much as I loved to ride motorcycles and coon hunt and stuff, I had to put it aside. There's nothing wrong with them as long as you don't let them stand in your way of serving the Lord and make idols out of them, gods out of them like I did. That's what made them wrong. I had to put my childish things away, and I had to step up to the plate, cowboy up, and do the right thing. When I was a child, I understood as a child. I spoke as a child. I lived as a child. I'd done childish things, and I'd done many foolish things. I've been told that I'm an old dinosaur now, and I need to lay down and go into extinction with the rest of the dinosaurs, because the world don't need hellfire and brimstone. Let me tell you something. The world needs hellfire and brimstone preaching more now than it ever has. Too much sugarcoating going on. Too much trying to talk about all the goody-goody things of the world. Not enough about what happens when you don't get saved and you die, and you wind up lifting your eyes and your foolish cries from the pits of hell. Not enough being said about how important it is to be saved by the grace of God. I am a child of the King, washed in the blood of the Lamb. I am a newborn believer, a son of the great I Am. I've been saved by the grace of God. I was called to preach by God. I was sent by God. So, yeah, I get aggravated when I see a lot of them doing the way they do, because I know it's wrong. I've been called down several times. Preacher, you need to let your past go. Preacher, you need to quit scaring my kids. You need to quit scaring me. And I tell them the same thing. This is always my answer to their question to that. I'm ashamed of a lot of things I've done, but I'm not ashamed to admit up to it. I never hid anything I've done. I was that much like my daddy. If I was going to do it, I'd done it. I didn't care who thought anything about it, what they said, how they felt. If I wanted to do it, I'd done it. I didn't hide it, because I knew the good Lord was watching, and I knew He's the one I'm going to have to answer to. So I just didn't hide it. I just done it, right or wrong. But yes, there comes a time when you have to put your foolish, childish things away. Man up, cowboy up, woman up, cowgirl up. Put on the whole armor and be a warrior for God, a servant unto Him. If I can keep one, just one, I want more than that. But if I can just keep one from going through the same troubles, trials, and tribulations as I did as a kid and a young man, it'd be worth it all to me. The embarrassment, the humiliation, ain't nothing. I'd rather you be mad at me right now and hate me for telling you the truth about thus saith the word of God and not sugarcoating it, than you wind up in the pits of hell and hate me for all eternity because I didn't tell you the truth. I sugarcoated it. I don't sugarcoat nothing. My wife will tell you I am very blunt. I am very plain spoken about anything. Sometimes I'm too blunt and too plain spoken. Right or wrong. If I'm wrong, I'll come back and apologize for it as soon as I realize I'm wrong. Sometimes it may take me a little while. My mind ain't as good as it used to be. But the point I'm trying to make is there comes a time when each and every one of us have to put our childish, foolish things away and grow up. Man up, woman up, cowboy up, cowgirl up, however you want to look at it. You can't continuously live as a child. You can't continuously live thinking that everybody in the world is going to take care of you. You're going to have to take care of yourself. I learned at a very young age because I had to leave home because I couldn't take it no more. The drinking, the fighting. I couldn't take it no more. When I was growing up, I'll say this and then hopefully I'll be done. When I was growing up, when most kids were playing, I was working because I was trying to make money to feed me, because there was many nights I went to bed hungry because my old man spent the money gambling and drinking, chasing somebody else's wife or girlfriend instead of being home with his own. Gambling instead of buying groceries or medicine or clothes. We relied on the charity of other people just to survive. And don't get me wrong, the hand-me-downs, I was proud to wear them because it covered my nakedness. The food that they brought by and dropped off, I was grateful to have because I knew if they hadn't, we wouldn't have had it. I can remember, and I was an itty-bitty fella, I can remember my mama going to gardens and digging up the leftover taters out of these people's gardens and bringing them home. And I remember one time that Mama only found 4 potatoes, and there was 5 of us, little bitty potatoes at that. So Mama went without. She took them taters and she laid them. We lived in a 2-room shack where Daddy left us. Had a fireplace. She took them 4 little taters and laid them there in the fireplace and let it cook. We kids ate those taters and she done without. I remember my mama going and pulling fence posts up, old rotten fence posts up that'd fall over and stuff, break off. Pull them up out of the ground, bring them home. Because she didn't have nobody cut firewood for her. I wasn't nowhere near big enough because I hadn't even started school yet. And she'd take that log, that fence post, and she'd set it in that fireplace, and as it burnt, she would shove it up into the fire to keep us kids warm. I love my mama. Do I love her ways? No, there's a lot of them I didn't. And I'm not going to get into that right now. My daddy, I love my daddy because of my daddy. Him and my mama give me my life, and he give me my name. And I loved him because of that, because he was my daddy. Did I like his ways? No. No. Mm-mm. So if I can take my life story from nature to grace, from just being a kid to being a preacher and then doing it, if it will stop one kid from making the same mistakes that I made, it'd be worth it all to me. I traveled for many years going to Ohio doing mission work. And a lot of times wasn't nobody in that car but just me and the good Lord. He watched over me and I'm grateful for it. I'm so grateful for each blessing that I've ever had. I wish that I had grew up faster and put my childish ways away sooner to where I could have been a help. I got somewhere between 12, 13 years that I ran from my calling to preach. I got from the age of 8 to the age of 24 that I got an answer for because I wasn't doing what I was supposed to do. From 1970 to 1985, I got that space I got an answer for. Each deed I done, right or wrong, I'm going to have to answer for it. When I stand before God, I'm going to have blood dripping from my hands of people that I could have been a help to, but I wouldn't because I was so worried about my childish needs and wants and desires, the fleshly desires, the worldly desires, the lust of the flesh. Because I run with some pretty wild and woolly women when I was a kid. I didn't date girls my age or younger. I dated older women. When I was 13, 14, I was dating women in their 20s and 30s and 40s. Why I married a woman that's 6 years younger than me? The only reason I can answer that is like I told you. God pointed her out to me sitting on them steps. When I put my first foot on that first step, he said, there's the girl you're going to marry. And I wound up marrying her. And I'm so grateful. Don't tell her because she's got a big enough head as it is. But I'm so grateful. Now I'm just picking. I'm grateful that God put her in my life. Because without her, I wouldn't be here. I'd either be in the grave where somebody stuck a knife in my back or a bullet between my eyes, or I'd be in the penitentiary the rest of my life with the life that I was living. Because I went a lot of places that grown men went in and didn't come back out. Not alive, they got packed back out. There is a time when each and every one of us have to grow up, put our childish stuff away, and take care of our own responsibilities. For every thing that we do or say, there is consequences. There is coming a time that you will answer for it. Now, you may not answer for it here in this world, but I'm going to tell you what the Bible says. You will stand before him and you will answer for everything that you have done here, right or wrong. Now, the worst thing that you can do is leave this world lost and undone, because hell will be your everlasting place of punishment. You will hear, depart from me, you worker of iniquity, for I never knew you. And you'll be cast and hewn down into the lake of fire to burn forever and evermore. The Bible says, where the worm dieth not, and we believe that to be the soul of man. Put your childish things away. Step up to the plate and start taking care of yourself. If you're 18 and older, it's no longer your parents' obligation nor duty to take care of you. If they do it because they love you. Stop freeloading. Grow up. Man up, woman up, step up, and take care of yourself. And I don't mean that disrespectfully by no means. Be grateful you didn't have to do it at a real young age. There's a lot of kids that has to step up and take care of themselves because their parents either won't or they don't have no parents, and they have to take care of themselves. If you got parents that loved you enough to take care of you, send you to school, feed you, make sure you had medicine when you were sick and take care of you, be grateful. Because a lot of us didn't. You got parents that take you to church, be grateful. Because a lot of us didn't. I done a lot of what I done because I done it out of ignorance. I done a lot of what I done because I wasn't taught no better. I followed into my daddy's, my uncle's, my granddaddy's footsteps. I saw what they did. I thought it was okay, so I done it. Until the good Lord finally showed me, wrong, ain't happening, Captain. Step up, grow up, man up, woman up. Put your childish stuff away, put your toys away, and take care of yourself, take care of your family. Most of all, if you're lost, seek the Lord while he may be found. If you're lost, have you a one-on-one individual conversation with God and be saved by his almighty grace before it's too late. I want to thank you. Those that tune into my lives, I thank you. I may not never know who you are, because if you don't like or comment, it don't show who watches. So I want to say personally, thank you. It means the world to me. I hope, and I'm not saying this bragging by no means, because I do not do these for popularity. I do not preach for money. I preach because God saved my soul and watched over me, called me to preach, and watched over me till I put my childish things away and I manned up, stepped up to the plate, cowboyed up. I put my chaps on. I put my spurs on. I pulled my hat way down tight, because this bull ride's going to be a long, long ride, hopefully. It's going to be a mighty rough one, has been so far. But hopefully, I'll be able to keep holding on to that bull rope. My Bible. My Bible's my bull rope now. My Bible is my bareback rigging. That's what I hold on to. And by the grace of God, hopefully I'll get to hold on to it for several more years. Hopefully. So I thank each and every one that tunes in to my lives. Those that listen to me on WRUS 610, Russellville, Kentucky radio at 4:15 on Sundays. I thank y'all. WRUS 104.9 FM or 610 on AM or WRUS radio on the internet. You can listen to me on the internet through the radio on Sundays at 4:15 to 4:45, or you can watch my lives. Either way, I thank you. I hope it's a blessing to you. I hope it's a help to you along your way. God bless you.